It's creepy website time. Today we are going to explore the website for the Church of Euthanasia. This is not a prank or an ARG. This is a real group of people whose main belief is that the world is becoming overpopulated and that we need to control overpopulation through suicide, abortion, cannibalism, and sodomy. Grab a drink or a hot beverage and let's dive into this internet rabbit hole. Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I do videos on creepy and disturbing things. The Church of Euthanasia was founded in 1992 by Chris Korda and Robert Kimberk in Boston, Massachusetts. They describe themselves as a non-profit educational foundation devoted to restoring balance between humans and the remaining species on Earth. Chris Korda, one of the founders of the church, said that she originally came up with the idea for the church from a dream. She dreamt that she was, quote, confronted by an alien intelligence known as the Being who speaks for the inhabitants of Earth in other dimensions. The Being warned that our planet's ecosystem is failing and that our leaders deny this. The Being asked why our leaders lie to us and why so many of us believe these lies. So the Church of Euthanasia is a religion, and it's possibly the only anti-human religion in the whole world. That's right, as I said before, their members advocate for overpopulation control through abortion, suicide, cannibalism, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense, but we'll get to it, and sodomy. Their slogan is literally save the planet, kill yourself. And their one commandment is thou shalt not procreate. But don't worry, the church is apparently highly against population control through murder or eugenics. They claim that it's all through voluntary means and they just advocate for it and educate people on it. Though the church doesn't exist anymore as an official organization, some actually believe that it never really did. Some believe that rather than an official organization, it was really just a form of Dadaism art, which essentially means that they're an art performance piece that is over the top and shocking on purpose. So while they really do believe in the message and they do want the message out that overpopulation is harming the planet, they're not actually as serious as they sound, and they're just using extreme measures and these crazy slogans just to get their point across. I wish all this were true. I wish that it was all fake and that this was just a performance piece, but after diving further into it, I kind of doubt it. They seem pretty serious to me, and I am fairly confident that there are still secret members around the world. So at this point you may be thinking, who really cares? This probably won't actually directly cause anyone to commit suicide, and they're just practicing their free speech. And I would say, well, of course they are, and they haven't really done anything illegal, technically. But I'll remind you that any sort of extremist is usually not a good thing. You know those pro-lifers who stand on street corners with those shocking signs about how abortion is murder? Nobody likes them, let's be real. They're obnoxious, ridiculous, and no one wants other people's beliefs shoved down their throats. The Church of Euthanasia, at least in my opinion, is the exact same thing, just the exact opposite. And I say that as a pro-choice person. So let's take a dive into their extremely odd website and talk specifically about what they have to say about the four pillars of their organization: suicide, abortion, sodomy, and cannibalism. We're gonna start with suicide. Suicide as a member is optional. In the FAQ, when asking Chris Korda why she hasn't killed herself yet, she says she will when she's quote unquote good and ready. Preventing procreation is the main goal. But in spite of this, their website once had detailed instructions on how to kill yourself, using a method involving asphyxiation and helium, but they had to take it down in 2003 after a woman who was only 52 years old used these instructions to commit suicide in Missouri. She was found lying next to a printout from the very website. And then in one of their sermons, they announced that they would be enacting a suicide assistance hotline, helping you every step of the way. Thousands helped. How about you? Call 976-HELP, sponsored by the Church of Euthanasia. Then there's this pre-recorded message that you can press the appropriate number for going out like a celebrity, techniques from A to Z, helpful hints, snuff du jour, how to become a saint, Christmas getting you down, etiquette, neatness counts. For a damn good reason to do it, for that added measure of courage, or leave your final recorded message. So this assistant hotline, yes, they really did try to enact this, but they failed because all the phone companies would not make it live because they knew what it was going to say and knew that that was really unethical. But for somebody who suicide is totally optional, they sure do spend a lot of time encouraging people to do it. I will give them credit for not coercing people into suicide. It's not like Jonestown where they forced people to do it or anything, and it's not a suicide cult, but it's definitely not frowned upon, and it's just very morbid that they encourage it like this. And again, this does fall under fair speech. They can say whatever they want. But I think it's really cruel to trigger people, especially that this is going to trigger mostly people that are suffering from severe depression. No, the regular average Joe is not going to kill themselves just because they saw a billboard called the Church of Euthanasia and that you should commit suicide. No. A typical person that's not suffering from any mental illness is not going to do it. They're not going to say just, oh, that makes a great point about overpopulation. I'm over with. But it may actually push people who are suffering from severe depression into actually doing it. And that's what I think is scary, because talking about it in such a positive manner might actually push some people over the edge, and it will only be people that are really, truly suffering. Let's get to the next one, abortion. If you choose never to have biological children, apparently you're a member of the Church of Euthanasia already. The biggest thing that the church wants is for people to choose to never have children, even if you want them. If you get pregnant when you're a member, abortion is absolutely required, or you'll be kicked out of the church. According to some of their signs, adoption is also an accepted way of having children. Or if you already had a child before joining the church, it's okay as well, as long as you don't have any more. Like I said, I'm totally pro-choice, but that is not the same as being pro-abortion. Meaning, I think that easily available birth control and free birth control is going to be way more effective at preventing unwanted pregnancies in the first place. So I just don't understand why they're putting all their effort into advocating for abortion and making such a hot topic seem like such a positive thing, when they would be a lot better off just advocating and putting all that effort into better birth control and more sex education and stuff like that. Okay, now their views on cannibalism. The group really advocates for not killing animals for food, as this harms the environment, and since there are so many humans, it's better to eat them instead. Their philosophy is that vegan is the best way to go, but if you insist on eating meat, it should be human meat. There's an entire page on their website dedicated to detailed instructions on how to cut up a human to eat it. I will warn you, the whole page is very disturbing. I couldn't read the whole thing. I will share one quote from the page, but skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear it. Quote, "You will obviously want a youthful but mature, physically fit human in apparently good health. A certain amount of fat is desirable as marbling to add a juicy, flavorful quality to the meat. We personally prefer firm Caucasian females in their early 20s. These are ripe, but tastes vary, and it is a very large herd." However, I mean, to be fair, remember they don't condone murder, so cannibalism is only okay if the person is already dead. But the page itself is extremely morbid. It has instructions for everything: hanging, beheading, bleeding, it goes on and on. Again, I warn you to proceed with caution if you go check out this website, because I got woozy just reading some of these details. Plus, you can get diseases from cannibalism. It's not a good alternative to meat. And lastly, we have sodomy, and it should be pretty straightforward as to why they advocate for this. The Church of Euthanasia considers sodomy as any sexual act that isn't, the act that causes pregnancy. However, their sodomy page weirdly goes to this page about urine therapy and how it's the answer to all your prayers, including using urine as an enema. So I'm not really sure what that's about or what that has anything to do with this, but whatever. There's also an archived photo of some of them holding a sign that says "Sex is good, pedophile priests for life," and a cartoon of literal CP. Like, what the fuck? I can only imagine this is because it won't get someone pregnant. I don't find any pro-child abuse on their website, but I can't imagine what else this poster or sign means. However you want to have sex is fine with me, but just make sure there's consenting adults involved. And what the hell is this gross shit? And why did they wonder why people hated them? And why did they wonder about all the backlash they got it? Like, no, we're just an art that sign is really messed up. I mean, you'd think they'd want to at least bury, like, I can understand if one of their members brought that sign to a protest and they didn't actually represent what the church believed, but the church proceeded to put the picture of the person with that sign on their archives on the website. So In addition to this, they've done other not so ethical things. In December 2001, just a few months after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, Chris released a music video called I Like to Watch. The music video included clips of porn, sports, and real footage from the 9/11 attacks. There was of course a lot of backlash because the video is incredibly disrespectful to the tragedy and people that lost loved ones in it. And overall, I just think this is kind of an asshole move. She obviously made this video because she really likes footage of death and thinks that death is a great thing rather than something bad, and tragedies like this just means that that's more population control. And that's, I don't see how that's not messed up. That's just totally taking the people out of tragedy and just pretending like we're all ants. The website also encourages members to help the church by, quote, spreading the word, talk to people, proselytize shamelessly, write a letter to the editor of your local paper, get on the radio or TV, be a nuisance, cause trouble, piss people off, especially your breeding friends. Carpe diem. So if this is some huge over-the-top art piece to make a point about the environment, I would argue that it's not a very good one. The actions that they encourage are just not something that we can do in a civilized society. Specifically, suicide and cannibalism. Can you imagine if a mass amount of people all of a sudden decided that that was the answer? I don't see why they think that's a good thing. I think society would be in chaos. I mean, for some of it, I do understand where they're coming from, but I draw the line at making 9/11 into a mockery and also painting pedophilia as a good thing. Even if they aren't together anymore, the whole thing is extremely strange and they are still active in some capacity. In fact, according to the website, they just posted a new link on February 18th of this year to their merch that you can still buy. Chris herself claims the whole thing is an art piece, but it just seems way too detailed and serious to be one. Like, they would go to anti-abortion protests to protest their protests. Do they not see the irony in that they're being just as obnoxious as the side they're against? Anyway, if you do want to go down this rabbit hole for yourself and decide to visit the website, remember that the descriptions are extremely graphic in nature. There is also a photo gallery with all those photos archived, like I said, but there are some very explicit pictures in there, just so you know. It's probably an 18+ website. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. That's enough of an internet rabbit hole for me. What about you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Am I way oversensitive and this is really not that big of a deal? I mean, I guess it's not a big deal now because it never gained traction. They're not really popular now. Not many people have heard about it, so it doesn't really matter. But finding out that this ever existed kind of blew my mind. The billboards that they posted especially were just insane. So anyway, okay, that's gonna be it for today. If you could throw this video a like, that would help me out a lot. And thanks for watching, especially if you made it to the end, and I will see y'all in the next one.